Welcome to the latest Seahawks Draft Blog live stream. Rob Staten here. Send your super chats in if you have any questions or if you've got any points that you want to raise about the things we're going to discuss on this stream. So what I want to get into first and foremost is obviously the Jaxon Smith-Njigba deal. I want to touch a little bit on what Jake Bobo re-signing means, and then I want to get into a bunch of draft talk. So get your messages in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a like and send those super chats in if you want to help support the channel, or if you've got a question, or if you want to chime in with anything that's being discussed. First things first, Jaxon Smith-Njigba signing his contract now. What does it mean for Seattle? Well, I think it's been pretty obvious that the Seahawks want to get this done really quickly in the offseason. There's been a determination to get this done before the draft. I don't know whether they're going to want to do the same with Devin Witherspoon. I starting to get the sense that maybe they do. But I think they acknowledged that with Puka Nacua also, he has to be signed to a new deal this year because he's on the last year of his contract in 2026. Obviously, he doesn't have the fifth-year option like JSN. So the Rams have got to get that one done. And the minute that he gets paid, if you are second on that list, then you are going to have to pay however much he gets and then a little bit more. So by jumping the queue and beating the Rams to the punch, and by all accounts, it sounds like the Rams are not close to getting a deal done with Puka Nacua. We will see if today's news accelerates talks in a way because they've got nothing really else to wait for now. But by beating the Rams to the punch, it makes life a little bit tougher for them now because the Rams and Nacua are going to be having the conversation of, okay, this is what the Seahawks deal looks like. What are we going to do? And the Rams don't have a fifth-year option to play with. Like the structure of this deal between the Seahawks and Smith-Njigba is very easy to portray as this is the biggest average per year contract that's been signed by a receiver. But the reality of it is, as Curtis Allen has done such a good job breaking down on X today, is that this is basically a 6-year arrangement. And the average per year, if you take into account the official final year of his rookie contract, the fifth-year option, and then the 4 years that are being tacked on this new deal, it ain't plus $40 million a year. It is, I think, about 32 million, something like that. You know, it's in that kind of ballpark. So it's actually a fantastically intelligent bit of business by the Seahawks to get this done now. It is going to apply a lot of pressure on the Rams, who can't use fifth-year option into the situation. They are going to have to do a deal with Puka Nacua, which, if whatever the guarantees are for this, and whatever the average per year that Puka Nacua will be looking for, which I'm guessing will be to match what JSN's is over the new money portion of this deal, he ain't got that fifth year to sort of balance everything out. It's going to be hugely expensive for the Rams and for Nacua to get this done. So by getting ahead of them, very, very intelligent, very proactive, and they've stolen a march. We are going to welcome in Robbie Williams, who is going to join us in a second. Robbie Williams will be here to talk a little bit of Seahawks with us as well, and we'll get his thoughts on this. But I just think, look, this is the kind of thing, and you've probably seen a lot of it already, that people are saying this is what the smart teams do. The smart teams will always get ahead of the curve. Like, you look at what the Bengals did with Jamar Chase, dragged that out. It did them no benefit at all whatsoever as time went on. And then you look at what the Cowboys did with Micah Parsons, and there's various other teams that maybe the Rams are going to be that with Puka Nacua. By getting ahead of things and getting this done now, the Seahawks have not had any drama. There's not been any having to negotiate through the media. They've just got the deal done. It makes fantastic financial sense for the Seahawks. It allows JSN and his agent to sort of promote it as something that's record-breaking and amazing. But for the Seahawks, it's cost-effective. They have saved millions by doing the deal now and structuring it this way, because over time, they are saving money on JSN. Like, if they'd have waited until next year to do this, it would have cost them a lot more money, because they can't use the remaining 2 years of his contract as a way to limit the damage later on. So I think it's very, very intelligent. I think you've got to give them a huge amount of praise for this. And I think Devin Witherspoon is next. Let's bring in Robbie Williams then. Robbie here to join us to discuss this. Robbie, I've just been saying there, Seahawks have played a bit of a blinder with this one, getting this done now, done it very quickly, minimum of fuss. no drama this year with JSN. Didn't expect there was going to be, Robbie. There's a fantastic relationship between Smith-Njigba and the Seahawks. He's clearly extremely settled. Why wouldn't he be? He's just been named Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL. They've just won a Super Bowl. There's absolutely no reason for him to want to go and play anywhere else or for there to be any drama. The Seahawks knew what the kind of cost this was going to be to re-sign a wide receiver in 2026. They've got the deal done. Fantastic all round, and have applied a bit of pressure on the Rams and Nakua now, who can't structure his contract the way that the Seahawks have done with JSN because he doesn't have that fifth-year option, Puka Nakua.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked by this. This is why I put it in the blog earlier. I was chatting with people or threw it in there that I mean, this is what I was hoping for all along. I was really worried that the Rams were going to get it done, a deal done first, and kind of add more pressure to us to go above that. Because, he did come out and say he wanted to be the highest paid receiver. And, as nerve wracking as that is, I think he does deserve that opportunity. And just the ability to get it done before they do now really puts the Rams in a kind of a tough situation, right? They're going to have to go above and beyond that. And, this is just one of those things where this is what a really good team does. You get it done early. You make it right. And I'm really confident that this was a great move for us. And to get it done early just is very, very exciting.
It is. And I think now the attention turns to Witherspoon. Does that get done in super quick fashion as well, Robbie? I wondered throughout the whole of this process as the offseason went along, whether this would get done before the draft and then the Witherspoon one gets done near a training camp. And I don't know if there's ever a reason why I came to that conclusion specifically, or whether it was just me thinking it might be hard to negotiate both of these right away. But I don't see any reason why they can't get Witherspoon done now. Because there's no other corners sort of waiting to be paid now. The Rams paid Trent McDuffie as soon as they traded for him and set the bar for cornerbacks. Devon Witherspoon is going to break that. There's no reason for the Seahawks to delay this in case any other cornerback signs a new contract and pushes that amount higher. I suppose Witherspoon, if there was sort of any noise doing the rounds, like one of these top corners was going to sign a brand new extension to get ahead of McDuffie, I suppose that could influence him slightly. But I've not heard anything like that. There's no talk of like a Patrick Surtain or somebody getting a new bump or anything like that. So you would imagine there's nothing to stop them getting this done with the same kind of structure, same kind of deal. Why wouldn't Devon Witherspoon do that? And I'm starting to wonder now, Robbie, that rather than wait until training camp, if they've got the cash available to put in escrow, maybe they do this in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if they get it done sooner than later. But I could also see it really going to training camp. I don't think there's any pressure at this point to get it done sooner unless they already have a deal in place that they both like. I think they're probably already talking and have been talking. I don't think there's any reason, though, why they have to pressure themselves to get it done, but there's also no reason why they can't get it done early. So I think they put themselves in the right position. I think they probably were feeling a little bit under the pressure or under the gun a little bit to get it done before the Rams got something done with Puka Nakua, because if that would have happened first, then we would have had to match or succeed that. And I think that's probably what, puts the pressure now on the Rams. So I don't think there's any scenario where we have to go above and beyond now for Witherspoon. I do think they'll get it done. I think it'll be a good deal for both sides. And I think we'll probably, we'll see it, by training camp would be my guess.
So people are saying Christian Gonzalez, which is fair enough. I've forgotten about him, that he's also eligible for a contract. I think people need to know this, though, that during the season, Robbie, there was talk that things were not all hunky-dory between Gonzalez and the Patriots. There was talk of maybe they'd trade him, actually, before the deadline. There was a bit of a buzz around there about what Christian Gonzalez's future is with the Patriots. And then he had a fantastic playoffs, culminating in being, for me, he was the best player on the field in terms of pure performance in the Super Bowl. I know that his team lost, but nobody played better than Christian Gonzalez in that game. And I think that that's the tide is very much turned on that, and that the Patriots will sign Christian Gonzalez to a new contract. But the point I'm making with this is it's not guaranteed that this is going to be a smooth process. So it will be interesting to see whether Devon Witherspoon wants to wait and on that contract, or that there wants to be a staring contest between Christian Gonzalez and Devon Witherspoon to see who gets paid first, because whoever is paid second will get a little bit more. Or will the Seahawks turn around to Devon Witherspoon and these people and say, we are prepared to make you the highest paid cornerback in the NFL today. Do not wait on this like Jaxon Smith-Njigba didn't. He could have waited. Let's get this done. You're going to be a very rich man, and why not do it? And Devon Witherspoon has had a few injuries in his career. He's hopefully not going to get injured, Robbie, between now and the start of training camp. I mean, that would be most unfortunate for him. But you would think, like, God, look, if you're having it dangled in front of you that you're going to be the highest paid player at your position, I'm not sure why you would delay that for the sake of, let's say, an extra $1 million a year more than Christian Gonzalez. Like, yeah, eventually you get to the point where you go, is it not enough to be the highest paid now? And by the way, Christian Gonzalez gets paid $1 million more, or $500,000 more, or $250,000 more than you, if he even gets more. Somebody else will beat that within a year anyway. So you're always going to end up sort of being knocked off your perch at some point. So we'll see, Robbie. I would hope that one is done. I think it's pretty clear now that the Seahawks want to get these two deals done. And they will be done. It's just a matter of time now with Spoon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll be soon. I was really stoked this morning to see Jason get the contract done. Yeah, Witherspoon's next. I think they're doing all the right things, and this is one of the reasons why they didn't pay Kenneth Walker as well. Like I've heard people complain, oh, it's not that much, but really we do need the money to pay some of these guys that are, I think just more substantial to the team, better core positioning.
I think also people need to realize, and people need to wrap their head around this, Robbie. Like, people have their opinions on certain players and get attached to certain players. Like, there's a weird kind of like, I'm not. It's not a cult. Like, it's not fair to call them a cult, but there's like a group of people who are very, very, very much Reek Woolen people, let's say, and they will go online, and in their world, Reek Woolen was a really important player, and the Seahawks have got it wrong for letting him leave. And what were they thinking? And he's the one who's going to be really hard to replace, Robbie. And I just feel as if every now and again there has to be this kind of like contrarian view within Seahawks Twitter that has to emerge, and there has to be sort of a battle line drawn. And I thought we'd kind of moved on from those days. Obviously not. I mean, anybody who has followed the Seahawks properly for the last 3 years, specifically the last 2 years, Robbie, knows that Reek Woolen was never going to get paid by the Seahawks in a million years. Like, there's absolutely no way that Mike McDonald was going to sanction paying Reek Woolen to stay. Like, it's just obvious. And it's nothing to do with, I didn't have a back and forth. I replied to one of Griff's tweets, and his sort of view was very supportive of Reek Woolen. And, he was talking about how important he was and stuff like that. Mike McDonald just never, ever trusted Reek Woolen. And I'm inclined to trust Mike McDonald's view on this. He is with Woolen every day during the season. And it's his defense, and the Seahawks are Super Bowl champions in his second year as head coach. And I think one of the things that I saw Griff was, it wasn't in my response to my tweet, but since it was like this need to have, like, not every player has to be like an army cadet or something like that. It's nothing to do with like everybody being a choir boy, everybody being sort of like really dialed in Mr. Football 100% every day, every night. Football, Robbie. If you are not a trustworthy person for whatever reason, I just don't think you're going to fit with this team. And I think it was, whether it was his personality, things he did on the field, or a bit of both. Somebody's just put in the comments, smart, tough, and reliable is the mantra that they go by. And that's not Reek Woolen, I'm afraid. So they moved on. And with Ken Walker, it's a bit like Woolen. It's not quite as extreme. But Robbie, when they spent all of last summer rather, praising Zach Charbonnet, that was a nudge to Ken Walker. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, that was, we are sending a message to Ken Walker. Because they would often qualify. So they get asked about Ken Walker and bring up Zach Charbonnet, and this is the coaches. Like Mike McDonald or Clint or whoever, or John Schneider, they get asked about Ken Walker and they bring up Zach Charbonnet. they were sending a message to us and to the players that they really sort of see smart, tough, reliable with Charbonnet, and in Ken Walker, they wanted a bit more. They wanted him to be out there to avoiding the injuries, to maybe doing things a little bit differently to make sure that he could stay healthy, Robbie. And when they were sort of doing that and showed no interest whatsoever in re-signing Ken Walker a year ago when he was finishing the last end of his contract, the last year of his contract, if they're going to do that, Robbie, then the chances that they weren't going to go at the end of the season, actually, now we've changed our mind on all of that. We're going to pay him $15 million a year because he's the Super Bowl MVP. That was never going to happen.
Yeah, and he'd been battling injuries prior, and they were even looking at like trading for running backs. I mean, or at least that's what it appeared to be towards the trade deadline. So, I mean, I don't think they were fully sold on him. Not that I think they thought he was a bad player, but I mean, shoot, he's playing 50% of the snaps because he, for whatever reasons, and they do like Charbonnet. And I think there's a good reason to want to keep him because he was a Super Bowl MVP, and like you can clearly see he has the talent. I mean, this is not a knock on Kane. We praised when the Seahawks drafted him because I mean he led Michigan State. He was their sole offense. Like he's a phenomenal football player. But I think they needed more out of him, and so yeah, I think paying him that money it just didn't make sense, and good on him for moving on, getting his money and doing what he needed to do, and maybe it'll be great for Kansas City. Just don't think he fit what we needed.
Well, he's a good player. Like no one's saying he's a bad player. Like it's not about that. But you if you're not prepared to pay someone, like if you'd have said to most Seahawks fans halfway through the season, "Are you paying Ken Walker $50 million a year to stay with this team?" You go, "Hell no, there's no way I'm paying him that." But then he's Super Bowl MVP and he finishes in the playoffs well, and people are now wanting that to happen. Like that's not going to happen. And DJT has sent this in. I have to address this. He says, "Hey, Rob, I wonder if you saw Brian's comments this morning about K9 being as good as Achane. Hope to discuss this on the collective." I mean, I'm very happy to discuss it on the collective, but I don't know if it'll come up, so I'll address it now. Devon Achane is a lot better than Ken Walker. I'm sorry, he is. Ken Walker is not as good as Devon Achane. I don't think I've said this before, people don't realize how good Achane is, Robbie. Like, you just look at, I would urge anybody who has that opinion to go and study Achane's tape, which I did immediately after I thought there might be a chance that he was available because a lot of people were talking about it. And it just reminds you, I mean, this guy is special. He is Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, Robbie. They're just in a different tier to Ken Walker, I'm afraid. They just are. I don't think people realize how good Achane is. And there's a reason why the Dolphins not only said no deal, but then sent a message to the rest of the league this week by going, we're going to actually put void years on his contract and make it almost impossible for us to trade him. Because now if they do trade him before the season, it's going to cost them another $2.5 million for him to go away. And they're already in the red for effective cap space. That was very clear. We are not trading this man. We are paying him to stay here. There's a reason for that, because he's way better than Jalen Waddle, who they traded, and they got a first and a third for him. So goodness knows what they would want for Achane. And he's way better than a lot of these other players. He's better than Ken Walker, Robbie. I think it was an absolute no-brainer for me. If they were prepared to trade him for 32, you ain't getting a player 1/10 as good as Devon Achane with the 32nd overall pick. I'm telling you now, people don't want to hear it, but people are wrong. They're just wrong. Like, you are not going to get a player close to Achane with the 32nd overall pick. No way. And if that was available, I think they'd have done it in a heartbeat. A heartbeat, they'd have made that trade. And they may not have paid him this year. They might have paid him next year with the knowledge that the franchise tag gives him some security. But he is a lot better, Robbie. It's not even a question. Just look at the production, man. Like, the production's on a different level over the last couple of years. They're not even in the same ballpark for me. And Ken's a good player. Achane's an elite player.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know if they really want to pay a running back that amount of money. Like, I don't know if they want or need necessarily a back like that. Like, they may be satisfied with what they have on the roster right now. I mean, it's the Shanahan offense does plug and play running backs quite well. And here's the thing. I think people forgetting about this. They were really high in Kenny McIntosh this last year before he got injured. they were pretty excited about what he could bring to the table. I remember Mike McDonald was really bummed when he went down, and they had high expectations for him. So there, that was another good get that we got in the 7th round for him. Like, we were really excited about him because it was like, what a steal! Like, just a player that should have went way higher. I'm not saying that they're not going to draft anybody or trade somebody, but I do wonder how they view the running back position in general.
Yeah, I think they do like their guys. I think they have to add one more, and I think they know that. Now it's just a good question of who it's going to be, Robbie. And
hold on, I'm going to comment to this. I try not to read the comments, but someone just said,
"Oh, you see, you always tell me.
I did it.
You always say, don't read the comments, Rob." And here he is again for the first. He's doing it all the time now, reading the comments.
Different back. All right,
go on. Then. What do you want me to? What do you want me to put up?
Someone said Shanahan paid for CMC. Sorry, yeah, that one. Okay. He's not a plug and play. I mean, he's built different. That's just unfair. And we were questioning the trade because we thought he might be done with his injuries. And then, so, I mean, that was kind of a throw with the dice, and he came back. But anyways, I just wanted to come with that. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Well, I agree with Bangstone, I'm afraid, Robbie, on this. I think that Achane is as good as sorry. Let me row that back spectacularly. I don't think he's necessarily as good as Christian McCaffrey, who is a fantastic player. Let me say, though, he is in that ballpark. Like, you are not a million miles behind in terms of pure talent for Devon Achane. And if you get Devon Achane, I think you pay him. And I think from the Seahawks point of view, Robbie, it's simply about the talent. Like, if Ken Walker, it took years for him to stay healthy. This season, even he was having to be sort of spelled and all of that. And I know what the people say, and they always go, "Oh yeah, but he's never been given an opportunity." And like, well, yeah, well, there's probably a reason for that. And again, the Seahawks don't make dumb decisions that often, like especially now that Pete's gone. Like, they don't make decisions that are like wildly off and frustrating. And they have had a front row seats for the Ken Walker show for the last few years, and they decided not to pay him. And Devon Achane, I just think, is a different beast. It's just talent. Like, there are things that Achane can do where he gets to the outside, and if he gets a crease, Robbie, whoosh, 50-yard touchdown. Like, the amount of, I'm not going to run through all of the stats again. They're there. When I wrote about where they should trade for him, like the number of like 40-yard runs he has, like the number of 20-yard runs that he has, like, and it's not just when he gets outside, like he runs through the middle and he's so small and quick. Like, he's like the Tyreek Hill of running backs without any of the off the field stuff. Like, he's unbelievable as a player. I think they would have paid him. To go back to the other point, Robbie, before we got onto the message there, was I think they feel like they need to add one more. Like, I think, and I think it's at least one more. And I think it's just a case of how are they going to do this now? Like, is it somebody with the first pick? Is it somebody with the second pick? Is it somebody later on? There's various players they could go for. We will get onto this when we talk about the draft. They will add somebody, Robbie. And look, this is still John Schneider, who drafted numerous players. That Kristen Michael 2nd round, Rashad Penny 1st, Ken 2nd, Charbonnet 2nd, paid Marshawn, paid Chris Carson, and maybe Pete had a lot of influence on that. It's just, I genuinely think this team has set the stall out to run the ball as a priority. I can't see them turning it over to Emmanuel Wilson, George Alani, Kenny McIntosh, and then hopefully Zach Charbonnet being back. They're going to do something here. It's just a question of what it is. It's probably going to be via the draft. We'll get onto that in a little while. Robbie, I want to move on to a couple of other things. Keep the super chats coming. We'll get to them soon as well. Jake Bobo has stayed today. Like, I think a lot of people thought, well, that's it. He's gone. When the Jaguars made the offer for the tender, the Seahawks then have an option to match the offer that the Jaguars made to keep him, and they did today. So they keep Jake Bobo. I think what's happening here, Robbie, is I think the Seahawks have kind of looked around. I think they were very much in on the Max Crosby stuff. I genuinely think they were one of the teams that called about Devon Achane. I keep calling him Devon Achane. It's Achane, isn't it? I keep wanting to give him a French flair. Maybe it's because of Trevor Achane.
Well, he was the rumor last year, though, too, right?
He was rumored, right? So he was rumored last year. Rumored before the deadline.
Before the deadline.
Who reported all the teams when they've called Miami been told he's not for sale? Adam Schefter reported that. Who does Adam Schefter speak to as clearly one of his sources? It's John Schneider. So I do think they will have called about probably other players as well, Robbie, that we'll never know about. I think they've had a look around in the trade market, and nothing has fit for them, and nothing has worked out. They couldn't compete with the Baltimore deal for Max Crosby. The Raiders are now sort of playing it by ear on that. Achan's not available. There may be others that they've checked in on. I think they've decided we can't do anything here. I think they want to protect their comp picks, Robbie, and therefore the key to this offseason has become make sure you keep everybody. Keep everybody together, go into next season with near enough the same kind of roster and try and run it back. I think that's what they're going to go for. Now, there are chances are that they may not be quite as good as last season, or that they haven't improved from last season, and they'll all be a year older and mentality-wise a little bit different because they've won a Super Bowl. They're all things they're going to have to contend with. But I think they've decided, Robbie, on reflection, this is their best plan to move forward and try and be competitive again. It's just to try and keep as many of their players as possible.
Yeah, and I agree with this plan. I think there's nothing that's happened this offseason that has been like absolutely devastating and like I didn't see coming, right? I think for the most part, this was pretty predictable. I didn't expect really too many big trades or anything like that. And they still may trade the 32nd pick just because the way that the draft is playing out, or like the people who came out for the draft. But I just don't see a scenario where I don't see anything that's happened that has made me think, well, wow, this is, a backbreaker to the team. I think we're still in a really good position, bringing back a lot of key players. I don't think losing Rick Woolen or K9 is going to be, detrimental to the team. They might not be as good as you just said, but I don't think there's any room or reason why we can't be just as good either.
Yeah, and you just have to look at it like this for me, Robbie. Can you replace Rick Woolen? Yes, you can, because he was sublime to the ridiculous throughout his Seahawks career. I think you could probably actually improve there by finding someone who's just a bit more consistent. So that's one thing. Two, can you replace Kobe Bryant? Yes, you can. You might already have him on the roster in Tyre Carter. And then the third thing, Robbie, is Ken Walker. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all the Ken Walker debate again. Ken Walker statistically only had 2 1,000-yard seasons in Seattle, his first year and his last year. And in both occasions, he got just over 1,000 yards. He only had 5 rushing touchdowns last season. Now, his average is 4.6 this season just gone. It's explosive. Like it's in terms of running ability, he could put explosive runs. You have got to replace that. As when we get onto the draft talk, Robbie, there are players in this draft that can do that kind of a role for you. So is it plausible to replace these players in the draft and bring everybody else back? Yeah. My question to you, though, Robbie, is we are hoping for more than that, because there was part of me that was thinking, hey, it'd be great. This is a fine plan. No problem. Hey, wouldn't it be great, though, to suddenly chuck Max Crosby into the mix for this team? Devon Achan, improving your running game and having somebody who's just a unique, unbelievable weapon added to this offense. They're the kind of things that make you think, they have got a really serious chance now of doing this whole thing again. I'm not sure that they've added the player, Robbie, who can do that. They're not going to be there in the draft. I'm telling you, they're not going to be there in the draft, which means have they got enough to battle through the defending champs, target on your back, maybe don't quite have the same juice that you had a year ago when you're the younger upstart, let's prove the world that we mean business team. Have you done enough to sort of get through that? Or did you need that kind of shot in the arm, stud player to come in to try and push it forwards?
Honestly, I am satisfied with it. I think the only thing I was really worried about was whether or not DeMarcus Lawrence was going to retire. I think for me, that would have been like if he would have decided I'm going to retire, I think that might have been something I would have been really, really disappointed on. Obviously I would have loved.
We don't know about that yet, by the way.
Well,
There's not been any official. No,
nothing official. Okay, I thought I saw something.
Nothing official. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, so that is one then that if he does decide he's going to retire, I think for me would be, I think backbreaking to the team. because what a good ad he was. He was such a solid player for us, and just what a stud. And then I think, I mean, obviously I would have loved to have Crosby, but again, I don't think there's anything that, for me that would set the table off that would be like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is the move. He's probably the only player for me that would have been like, okay, now we definitely are increasing our capabilities on the defensive line. But I'm really just satisfied with what they're doing right now. I'm really excited to see kind of what their plan is for the draft, and then kind of reassess. I mean, we're still not even done with free agency. There's still players out there that can be had. So I'm not mad about anything yet.
So this was the next thing I was going to talk about, Robbie. And we'll do this. We'll do this. Then we'll do the super chats, and then we'll do some draft stuff I want to get into. So part me wonders, is there still a chance that you could have a trade before the draft? And I think there is a chance. So I wrote this yesterday. Frank Clark was traded 2 days before the 2019 NFL draft. I can remember that, Robbie, because I was really pissed off that they did that 2 days before the draft, because I had about a month's worth of content we could have done previewing what they were going to spend all of their new picks on. So, thank you, Seahawks, for giving us 2 days of being able to be excited and talk about the extra picks that we had. And I actually wonder, Robbie, whether doing it so close to the draft hurt the Seahawks, because they didn't have a plan for that draft. They ended up really struggling. They traded down. That was the draft where they ended up with LJ Collier, when I think they thought they were going to get Brian Burns or Rashawn Gary, and Jonathan Allen or Adams, who was the safety in the late first, who went to the Raiders, and then they had to take Marquise Blair instead. I think that's what their plan was. And they looked really miserable at the end of day one, if you remember that. And I think maybe they just didn't give themselves enough time to sort of sift through what they were going to do, because of the Frank Clark trade happening so late in the day. However, it goes to show that trades like that can happen very late in the process. Next weekend, Robbie, is the owners' meeting. So all of the GMs are going to be in the same hotel together. And, things will happen there, and talks will happen, and drinks will be shared and stuff like that. The coaches will be together. The owners will be together. It's something where the possibility of reviewing trade ideas could start again. You could maybe kickstart conversations, Robbie. Your pro days are nearly finished. Now you're getting towards the end of the pro day circuit. I think this is the last week for the pro days. You're doing your official 30 visits now. So once you've done your visits, you're finalizing your board. Couple of weeks to go until the draft, Robbie. The teams will know what they're going to do. And it's from there that you have to make a decision on who you're going to target, your plan A, your plan B, your plan C. And maybe if they've got a draft target there, you could do it. Now, I listened to Tom Pelissero and Jeremy Fowler over the last 72 hours, Robbie, both saying there's still a possibility that Max Crosby could be dealt. They didn't say he's going to go, but they left the door open. And it just makes you wonder here. Like, Crosby, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, Robbie, that's 2 or 3 weeks plus the 2 weeks since the trade collapsed. It's about a month, 5 weeks of extra recovery that he will have had. So that medical might look a bit different when he's had another 5 weeks of recovery. It might mean that teams can reassess this. The only problem from a Seahawks point of view is, if his health is improved, there are still teams ahead of the Seahawks, such as the Bears, the Cowboys, some others, who would be able to offer more attractive deals than the Seahawks will, because they're picking 32nd overall. So I still don't think it's very likely that the Seahawks would be the team to come out on top. But I think they'd be asking the question about that. I really wish there was still a chance of Achane. I think the Dolphins have taken that away. But that's what I'm thinking about. I just wanted to share that thought, that there could still potentially be a trade before the draft. Perhaps with Max Crosby, might be difficult to get that done. If not him, maybe it's somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it possible. I also wonder, they only have 4 picks in this draft. If they're not going to trade for an impact player, then my guess is you're still probably going to see a trade in the first round. Move down, try to gain a couple more picks. I don't know how much they could get, but
do you need to, though? Because this is the thing. Whenever one of you says this, Because people have said this a lot, Robbie. They're going to trade down and get more picks. I think they don't want the picks.
Maybe.
I don't think the reason they traded the Rashid Shaheed stock away, the 4th and the 5th rounder, is because I think they're looking at priority free agents in that range.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they want those picks to be able to sort of say, okay, well, we like this guy enough to take him here, and it means we don't have to battle for free agents later. But if you don't have players graded in the 5th round, and that's what you're being offered, I don't think what's the point of moving down? Like, you might as well just take the player that you really like at 32 instead of 36 or something like that. So I don't know if they're desperate for picks, Robbie, unless the picks were really attractive. And that maybe an early 4th will be worth having, Robbie. It's near your 3rd rounder. But I think the minute you go lower than that, it's hard. It's really hard.
I'm not saying they're desperate for picks, but I mean, there are still players to be had. I know it's not a great draft, but there are still good players to be had. So I mean, it's not the best draft, but there's still players to be had. So, walking away with just 4 picks doesn't always seem, unless you, like I said, you trade your first for an impact player that you already know is, really good. There's still opportunities. I'm not saying they're going to do it. Just saying.
No. I think they're pretty much at this draft off level now. For me, I think that's what they did in 2021, and they only picked 3 times. And I think they were like, we'll pick 3 times. I think that's where they're at with this class. Like, the more that I look at it, Robbie, I think it's a crap place to pick 32nd overall. In this draft more than any other. Like, the players that I accept that sometimes when I do mock drafts, Robbie, I push the players that I like for the Seahawks out of range because I like them, and I think they'll go somewhere else because I like them. And sometimes I shouldn't do that. I should just let the players fall to the Seahawks, and I should let the Seahawks pick them. I get that. But like, Emmanuel Pregnon is somebody who I think the Seahawks, maybe if they like the character, I think there is a personality question mark there, but he's freaking more explosive than most players that come around in the 10 years that I've been doing the explosive traits measuring. He's one of the most explosive to come through in a decade. He's got length, he's got massive hands, he's got experience in both guard spots. That's somebody I think, it'd be a really cool option that at 32. But then I think, well, why wouldn't the Steelers take him? Their biggest needs left guard. Why wouldn't the Steelers take him at 21? Like, if that's their big, that makes perfect sense. And if players like that, and your Chris Johnson, who's your best zone coverage defender per PFF, or your pass rushers who are stylistic fits, who've got good pass rush win percentages, got 1.5 splits, Robbie, if they're gone as well, like, I think, and this is all possible in my opinion, you then sat at 32 and you're thinking, what the F are we going to do here? And like, if you needed a linebacker in that spot or a defensive tackle, maybe you're feeling better about it. That's not what the Seahawks need. And they might need to move around and do stuff like that. So,
but who's to say that it's the picks are for this year? I mean, maybe you move down 3 spots and you pick up an additional 3rd next year or something.
They'll never do that. Teams will not do that. The draft's too deep next year. They're going to. Teams will protect their picks for next year at all costs. I'll be surprised if any picks in the first four rounds for 2027 exchange hands during this draft. I still think there's trades to be done there for the veteran market. I think they'll want to move on from this. Just to say, Big Mike is saying the Steelers are going to take Ty Simpson. Tom McShay said that's not happening today. But I want to talk about Ty Simpson, so we'll come to that. Let's do the super chats and then let's get full on into the draft talk. So there's a few things I want to talk about in about 25 minutes. So the Warhammer guy says, provided they address running back adequately, I'm fine with anything else they do. What's your favorite running back plan at this point? Glad JSM put the Rams in a bind. My favorite running back plan at this point is to trade for Devon Achane and find a way to do it. But I don't think that's very likely at all. But that is, you did ask what my favorite plan is, and that is my favorite plan. Robbie, what's your favorite plan?
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be what I would go with if that was feasible. I don't think it is, though.
Storm Reaper 5 says, thoughts on the nose tackle class? Last offseason, we thought it was a need, but Murphy held it down. Long term, do we want him there or move him to 3-tech eventually? I think he's playing very well where he is. I wouldn't move him. I don't think he is a natural 3 technique. I think he is what he is at this point. Like, his best trait in college was their ability to anchor and absorb double teams. And I actually think that Byron Murphy's future is a mix between Grady Jarrett and Jaron Reed. I don't think he's natural 3 technique. So I think I'm fine with him there. I think the Seahawks believe that they can find nose tackles. I think Brandon Peely coming back, I think they can find a Brandon Peely all the time. So I'm sure if there was an unbelievable nose tackle available sometime, they would consider that. I don't think they're going to rush to address that though. So I don't know if I don't think they'll have much of a plan there. I think they'll think Peely and Reed and Murphy are good enough. There are some sort of nose tackles in this draft that I think are good. Obviously, I like Caden McDonald, but that's a very high pick. Tim Keenan, I think, could be a very good nose tackle prospect. So there are players there, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be a big target for them. Big Mike says, Mike Washington appears to have a high ceiling and burst needed in the running back room. Do you think he could be had at 64 or might a move up be necessary? They won't trade up. They won't trade up for him. If he's there at 64, he'll be an option. If he's not, he won't be. They're not going to chase Mike Washington, but I think he could and should be an option for them at 64 if he lasts there for sure. And Derek says the Achane talk has been really interesting. I first heard about him as an intriguing name like 6 months ago from you two. Made me seem like a genius when talking with other Hawks fans. Well, I'm glad to hear that you sound like a genius. I wish more people thought that we actually sounded like geniuses when we talked about it, but alas, no. He's one of the best players in the NFL. I don't understand what other people are watching. Robbie, I think it's because he's small. I genuinely think it's because he's a small player. I think people, and he's a running back. He's small and he's a running back. So people think, But small and running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, Achane, that's the style that's working right now. Kyren Williams isn't big. And like Achane's production is like, oh my word, it's like superstar level. It is doing things that nobody's done in a long time. So it's a shame that the Dolphins are now a smarter organization, and that we couldn't have got him before that they decided to be smart, because this is, I really like him, and that would be my plan. If you have another super chat, send them in and we will come to it at the end. Right, Robbie, I want to talk draft. I want to talk draft with you. So there's a few things that came across my desk, metaphorical desk for this stream. The first one is Todd McShay put out a 2-round mock draft today, and he had the Seahawks taking Casey Concepcion with the 32nd overall pick, who's a receiver from Texas A&M. I just have to say this, Robbie, I have an immense amount of respect for Todd McShay and Steve Mensch. I love their show and I love everything they do. Robbie, if the Seahawks take Casey Concepcion, I will walk to Seattle from England for the opening game of the season. There is zero chance, that they are having paid Rashid Shaheed $17 million a year. There's zero chance they're taking a receiver who is like Casey Concepcion with their top pick. It's just not happening. It's not happening, Robbie.
Yeah, I saw that today, and it made me chuckle a little bit. I think some of these guys are just, they're not sure what to do with some of these players in the draft or where to put them. It doesn't look like they're trying very hard. Some of the mock drafts that I've seen have just been like, what? Like, where are you getting this? Yeah.
The biggest problem with the mocks, Robbie, I genuinely don't think. I understand it. Like I'm an absolute psychopath when it comes to the draft. Okay, you don't want to know the amount of stuff that I do, Robbie. The lack of sleep that I have. So I am playing around with mock drafts. Like I've avoided mock drafts throughout the whole college season this year because I just thought it was such a bad draft. I didn't want to do it. But now I'm doing the mock drafts, and I'm pretty much playing around with the mock draft every night. Like before we went on this stream, Robbie, I played around with a new mock draft. But in order to do the mock drafts, I have to know about every team. So I'm Googling the crap out of Panthers team needs. And I'm going on forums. I'm going on the athletic reporters for a lot of the different non-Seahawks teams are doing like key list top 5 needs and stuff like that. And you go around and you just get a lot of different opinions, and you can build an idea. I go on the Our Lads depth charts and run through everything and spend so much time, Robbie, trying to work out what team needs are and what styles defensively, offensively the coaches like and stuff like that. So at least try and make sure the picks make sense. I don't think Todd's done that with the KC Concepcion pick. Like he could have sent me a tweet and I would have said, oh, I don't do that. Like it's just not that's not happening. Like it's not happening. Like he has them taking Mike Washington with the second pick, which is I understand that. But the idea that the Seahawks and their current guys would take KC Concepcion and Mike Washington just doesn't chime. Like they will take a running back early, but they ain't going receiver, Robbie. They just aren't. They've just paid a fortune for JSN. They've got Cup. They've paid a fortune for Rashid Shaheed. They've got Torrey Hall. They've just brought back Jake Bobo. They've brought back White. Like they've got their receiver room is full. Like there's no room for a first round. Now, if they wanted to draft somebody middle rounds, too good to pass up. Like there's some good mid round receivers in this class. Fine, but not 32, Robbie. That ain't happening, man. It's not happening.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing it. I'm just unless there was just like a stud that just dropped that made just perfect sense. I just don't see it.
I can't imagine who it would be. Like there's not one in this draft for me who's like they're going to take him at 32. So I just needed to say that. The other thing I wanted to say just generally is about Ty Simpson before I get back onto the Seahawks. Like so you've had Adam Schefter today saying Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round. A lot of people keep saying Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round. Like Tom McShay said it today as well. So people are saying Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round. Nobody knows where he's going to go. And here's the thing. Like people are saying it's not Steelers. People are saying it's not the Jets. So who is it? That's what's made me think when doing these mock drafts, Robbie. It ain't going to be anybody who is bad. Because the bad teams are all positioning themselves for next year. The Cardinals, the Jets, the Raiders are not because they've got the first overall pick and they've obviously decided they're happy with Mendoza. All of the other teams are positioning themselves for 2027. So whoever takes Ty Simpson in round one is going to be a team that has an aging quarterback perhaps and wants to have him come in and sit and just plan ahead. Or it is somebody who is going to change quarterback within the next 12 to 24 months. The only teams that I can think of who fit that category, Robbie, in my opinion, would be either the Dallas Cowboys, the LA Rams. I can't think of anybody else. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's unlikely because that would just, I don't think Philadelphia is ready for that. That even Philadelphia with its media presence is ready for that kind of noise. I think they're the teams. It's got to be the Cowboys or the Rams. And I'm leaning Cowboys, Robbie. And the reason that's why I put him in the mock draft, Dallas fans and media will go apeshit when it happens. But when Tony Romo was 35, they tried to trade up for Paxton Lynch in the first round with the Seahawks. And the Broncos beat them to it. And the Broncos took Paxton Lynch instead. And the Cowboys then took Dak Prescott in the fourth round. Tony Romo hurts his back later that year. Rest history. Dak Prescott, Wally Pipson, takes his job. Romo retires because of the back injury, the neck injury. Prescott is now 33 years old this year, Robbie. He's had injuries. In the last 2 years, they've traded for Trey Lance and Joe Mixon. They're trying to bring in young quarterbacks to develop with upside, Robbie. They're looking for the future. I think they might take Ty Simpson with one of their first one of their first round picks, the two of them that they have at 12 and 20, probably at 20.
Yeah.
And say, we're going to take this guy. We're going to sit him. He's not going to play as a rookie. There's no pressure for him to start immediately. We're happy for him not to play for the first 2 or 3 years. But we don't think Dak Prescott's necessarily going to play into his late 30s. We're planning ahead. I think they are going to take Ty Simpson in this draft.
I mean, I understand your logic. It makes a lot of sense. I'd love to see the Cowboys reaction, Cowboy fan reaction on it. But yeah,
well, it's unfortunately, Robbie. That's the other thing. Is Jerry Jones is never happier than when his team's being talked about, and that is what will be happening if they take like nothing else will get a look in once the Cowboys take a quarterback. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Rams could do it as well. There's been a bit of buzz around the Rams at 13. I think that could happen too. Anyway, that's enough about other teams. Let's get back to the Seahawks. So I've got a few thoughts here, Robbie. I think still that what the Seahawks plan is going to be for this draft is to fill the voids. Draft a running back to replace Ken Walker. Draft a cornerback to replace Reek Woolen. Draft a pass rusher to replace Boye Mafe. Possibly draft a safety to replace Kobe Bryant. But not as much of an immediate need because they have Tyre Carter. I think that's how they're going to view it. I think if they can't get a pass rusher, that's okay. They'll ring around the Von Millers and stuff like that after the draft. And I think, frankly, Robbie, that might be a better plan. And they might do that even if they draft a pass rusher. They might ring Von Miller anyway. So I think that's possible. I'm sort of battling with myself, Robbie, as to when you take the cornerback because there's some depth at the position. And I spoke to Drew Fabianich from the Senior Bowl, and as he quite rightly pointed out, I completely agree with him on this. Very pertinent point. This is a draft of cornerback twos. Number 2 cornerbacks, not number 1s. So I don't want to take a cornerback 2 at 32 if I can get a cornerback 2 at 64 or 96. And I think I can. Like Chris Johnson's zone grade is really good. So is Ezekiel Massas at California. So I don't feel like I need to reach and take Chris Johnson at 32 if I can get Massas at 64 or 96. But if you're not taking Chris Johnson, he might not be there, by the way. Who are you taking? Like, is Cassius Howell there? Cassius Howell might be a fit, Robbie. Because they liked, a year ago, Jalen Walker. The Seahawks liked Jalen Walker. He had short arms, 32-inch arms. Not as short as Howell's, but hybrid linebacker, pass rusher. Good character fit. That's Cassius Howell. So I think Cassius Howell could be on their radar at 32. He might not be there.
Yeah, I was going to say he might not be there. Yeah.
He might not be. And then I mentioned Emmanuel Pregnon. Now, I don't know whether Pregnon's personality fits. I think that I'd be interested to see if they get him in for an official 30, Robbie. But his physical profile is unbelievable. So maybe they view if he lasts, that's a player that can come in and finish off the offensive line. I think that's a possibility that they do that, Robbie. But I'm not totally sure he's going to be there or whether he will be a personality fit. Blake Miller, could they kick him inside? I don't think Blake Miller's going to be there at 32. So I'm kind of like running through the options here. And each time I'm running through the options, Robbie, I'm kind of saying, yeah, he'd be good, but nah. He'd be good, but I don't think he's going to be there. Someone's asked about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I just don't fancy him. I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's average. I think he's a 3rd-round pick. And I think the media have sold you a pup there, telling everybody he's going to be like top 20 pick. It's not happening. Like, I don't think that's happening at all. So I don't think they take him at 32 at all. So I'm struggling to think who lasts at 32. And also, Robbie, I will just say this, and I mentioned it earlier that I'm very good at sort of saying I think this player will be good and then he don't get there to 32 or whatever they're picking. I have more often not been right on these things. I've been more often not correct saying I think Pregnon's physical profile is so good I can't see him lasting, and then it happens, and it does, and I do tend to get that right. So the point I'm getting round to, Robin, this really long-winded point to you, is who do they actually consider if they have to take somebody? I want to throw a newish name out there. I just want to address Jadarian Price before we go any further, because people will be wondering, is that an option? Because we've talked about him in the past. Explosive run rate, Robbie, of the running backs in this draft. Jadarian Price is first by a mile. His explosive run rate is 21.2%. The average of drafted running backs in the last 11 years is 16%. A reminder, his is 21.2%. Jeremiah Love is 19.6. He's below Jadarian Price. Mike Washington, 18. And then you've got like Emmett Johnson, Katron Allen, Kalen Black in the 14% range, Jonah Coleman, 12.7, etc., etc., etc. So Jadarian Price's explosive run rate is that freaking good, Robbie. It makes me think that, like, some people think Jadarian Price is a late second rounder, early third rounder. Some people like Lance Zierlein think he's the 30th best player in the draft. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 40. I think it could go either way, Robbie. I think they could take him at 30, 32. A quick thought on that before I give you the other name. Would you be comfortable with that? Have you watched any of him?
Yeah. So, it's funny. Remember when I went to the Notre Dame game? When I went to Stanford, Notre Dame, for me, he was one of the players that just stood out. I mean, the way he was running. So, yeah, I could see that be a possibility. And I would, again, I'm going to be comfortable with whatever they decide to do. It would be interesting to take a guy who was the backup just to see. But I mean, if you believe in him that much and you roll with the player that you feel the best with.
If you think he can provide you explosive running plays,
yeah,
and his explosive run rate suggests that he can, working in a timeshare, maybe not initially with Zach Charbonnet, but eventually with Zach Charbonnet. In the meantime, he does a timeshare with George Alani or Emmanuel Wilson or whoever, Robbie. You are getting him for $2.6 million next year.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who can hit the ground running potentially, maybe literally as well, hit the ground running, and get out there and get some big plays, which is what you lose with Ken Walker moving on. 2.6 million in 2026. And in his final year of his rookie deal, 4.6 million. That's a lot cheaper than Ken Walker, a lot cheaper than some of these other running backs. They might just think for 4 years of this guy, plus the potential for fifth year option if you take him at 32, it makes too much sense to go and take him here, address that need, get a cornerback or a safety or a pass rusher at 64, Robbie, and feel as if you're okay. You've replenished. You've made the most of an off-season that was a challenge. That's something that I think is a distinct possibility still. The second thing I want to mention, Todd McShay threw this out there today, Robbie, and I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it. Do I think that they could do it? Yes. I think there's at least a chance. Todd McShay said that Malachi Lawrence could go in the late first round. Malachi Lawrence is the pass rusher from UCF. I should have worn the UCF hat for this bit. So Malachi Lawrence, just to fill you in, he ran a brilliant 40 time, ran a 1.59 split. I think I'm just pulling up my notes on him so that I can be completely accurate here, so that we can get the best information. So Malachi Lawrence, here we go. Scouting report, which is on the blog. He ran a 1.59 10-yard split. Robbie, they do like pass rushers who run a split in the 1.5s. So he ran a 1.59 10-yard split, 40-inch vertical and a 10-10 broad. Elite traits right off the bat. Quick, twitchy, explosive. Elite traits. His pass rush win percentage, 19.2% in 2025. Excellent. Even better the year before, 22.7%. Really, really good. Size, 6'4", 253 pounds, 33.5-inch arms. Perfect for a situational rusher, Robbie. Someone who has got speed, quickness, twitch, the length, the size. The thing the Seahawks lack from their pass rush is speed. They've got everything else. They've got the physical stuff. They don't have enough speed. This guy's quick. He's not going to be playing the run a lot, which is his weakness, the run game.
Yeah, tackling
And run game, Robbie. He ain't setting in a stern edge, right?
Sure.
No one's going to mistake him for DeMarcus Lawrence hitting somebody in the running game. But you're not drafting him for that. You're drafting him to be a situational rusher. Here's another thing that I've discovered, Robbie, in the last few weeks. Digging around, speaking to people. He had the fastest GPS max speed of any of these pass rushers on the field in 2025. So I'm not talking about how he ran at the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Game, which he went to, which is the zebra stuff. I'm talking about on the field during the season. Malachi Lawrence was the fastest max speed of any of these pass rushers, Robbie. Now, am I comfortable taking him at 32? Not really. But I think he's around 45 for me. Maybe they trade down first. I don't know. But the point is, if Chris Johnson, Cassius Howe, Emmanuel Pregnon, and whoever else you want to throw in there, Robbie, have gone, and if you don't think Jadarian Price is worth 32, and if you have to take somebody, I'm just saying they might decide we'll take Malachi Lawrence. Because the traits and the upside are what they are. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's an explosive pass rusher. I mean, he had like 11 or 12. I can't remember how many. He had like 11 or 12 sacks last year, and you know, it's a guy who moves fast. He has a secondary move as well, which is also great about him. He's a guy that can, he's not just the speed, but when he gets kind of stopped, he's got that secondary, not like bull rush or anything like that, but like he can get by. He's got good hands essentially to get off blocks and get around people. You're right though. I just don't know if he's someone that they would necessarily consider at 32, a trade, maybe a small trade down, which is still something I think they could do. Would be more realistic to try to take him. But I mean, again, like I said, if they feel comfortable with taking whatever player they want at 32, I'm totally fine. Whatever direction they go at 32, just because coming off a Super Bowl, like what a pick to have, like whatever you feel is best. Just fill gaps, fill holes, keep improving the roster however you can. And yeah, if bringing in that speed guy, I mean, it's what we were complaining about that a little bit during the season. Just like, man, we're missing that like speed, and you saw it in the Super Bowl, like letting Witherspoon come down and how much speed he brought. And he's a corner, right? So I mean, if you could have that on the edge.
I'm sorry, Robbie. I've read the comments, Robbie, and I'm gonna have to. I've got my head in my hands. Okay,
I'm supposed to do it.
I've got my head in my hands. People are telling me now, like I'm gonna put them up. I'm sorry, you're getting pulled up for this. So the first one is this: MM tends to lean more to power rushers who can set an edge. I don't know if he's a fit. And then there's this one here, like a guy like Derek Moore is more of an MM style, good edge setter and power. I've got to say, I really just please let's not keep doing this, okay? Because I've said this a couple of times, right? The player they're trying to replace is Boya Mafe. Boya Mafe's role on this team was as a situational speed rusher. That was his role, okay? They don't need 4 DeMarcus Lawrences on the team. Okay, they've got DeMarcus Lawrence and they've got Derek Hall, right? And they've got Chenna, who's not quick, right? You can't have a completely slow pass rush. Everybody can't be a slow runner. Someone has got to have an ability to sprint off the edge, get to the outside shoulder, turn a corner, and get to the quarterback. Get to the quarterback. That quick win is what they were lacking against the Rams when they played the Rams in the 2 home games at the end of the season. Because no one can get near Matt Stafford before the ball comes out. They need someone who can get quick wins. And look, there are problems with Malachi Lawrence. I don't know if he's got the ankle flexion, Robbie. I don't know if I don't know what when his pro day is, whatever it is, or whatever like that. I'd love to get down there and get him doing some drills, Robbie, where he has to change direction and do all of that stuff. I'd love him to do a short shuttle. I'd love him to do a 3-cone for me. I want those times. Because the one issue that I have with him is that when he tries to bend and straighten around the arc, he sometimes loses his footing, loses his balance, Robbie, because I don't think he's got that ankle flexion and it loses the rep. That's a problem for him. But there are only 2 players, Robbie, who fit in rate. Like, forget Arvell Reese. He ain't going to last till 32, okay? There's only 2 players who've got 1.5 splits and this kind of size. That's Cassius Howe and Malachi Lawrence. If you want somebody who is going to sprint to that outside shoulder, turn the corner, and straighten to the quarterback, it's basically Howell and Lawrence. They don't need somebody to do what D-Law and Derek Hall are already doing. And Riley Mills can do a bit of that for you as well. And by the way, Jared Ivey might be your future D-Law, okay? Can we just accept that? Jared Ivey's not a 250-pound pass rusher. because Jared Ivey is a bigger guy. He was inside out for Ole Miss. He could be D-Law. He could be D-Law. What they need is speed. They need quickness. It can't just be one-dimensional pass rushing unit that can't get off the ball and get upfield. Like every win, Robbie, can't be whacking somebody with hand use and overpowering them and getting to the QB. You need some quickness. And people are saying, well, Brian has said everybody that they draft is going to be good against the run. I bet if you go through and have a look that not every player they've either signed or drafted has been good against the run. I've not done that. Whether it's undrafted free agents or players they've drafted, I bet not everybody has been amazing against the run, frankly. I don't think that's accurate, that they just have to have people who are good. Defending the run's important. Guess what? They already do that. Robbie, tell me if I'm wrong, okay? If the Seahawks defend the run really well right now, and we've seen them because they've won the Super Bowl with it, why do you need more of that? Like, if you're doing that well, but you're not quick and you don't get quick wins, why would you not get quickness? And why would you go more? We need more people who can defend the run. Like, explain. Am I off kilter here, Robbie? Because that to me feels like they've already addressed that. It's like saying we've got a speed receiver. We need another one at 32. Let's take KC Concepcion. That doesn't make any sense. Neither does getting more good, physical, run defending defensive linemen. They need some speed down there, Robbie. Who's fast on this pass rush right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to want some speed, but the other thing they're going to want is someone that's going to be coachable. Can Mike McDonald coach Malachi Lawrence to be good run stopper as well? Can he set an edge and not, I mean, it depends on coachable. Like, we can go back and forth on what they did in college, and that's great. And obviously you're going to go off that, but he's also going to want somebody, like, he's going to talk to the coaches. Is someone can I coach this guy up? Can I, what can I do to make him, even better? And that's what they're going to want. They're going to want to bring someone in who's going to be able to be, all encompassing. If they could draft somebody at 32 that had all the traits that you're looking for, was fast, could set the edge, could do all the things, stop the run, rush the passer, he wouldn't be there at 32, right? So you got to take a chance with somebody and see if you can coach him up. You're muted, Rob.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to have a quick look and see what Jared Ivey's like. I know he's an undrafted free agent, and that's fine. But it kind of makes the point that given they protected him all year, like if there was, all right, his run defense was pretty good, 82.7. So his run defense was good. Fair enough. I just wanted to double check. Did they acquire any other defensive linemen last year? I don't think so. Apart from the undrafted free agent guys. I need to go and have a dig around that. I need to go and have a dig around. I mean, I imagine that Von Miller's, who they tried to sign, Robbie, I bet his run defense wasn't amazing, frankly. So I'm just saying, I don't know if it's, I think they need a certain skill added to this. And that is speed. Maybe they won't take Malachi Lawrence. I just think, who else is going to take him, Robbie? Like maybe the Chiefs. They like traits. Maybe the Dolphins. They need a pass rusher. But I'm not sure that they need more run defense. I think it's more about go and get after the quarterback. That's my thought. I just think it's a name that we need to keep in mind as we go through this process, particularly because some of these other names, the Chris Johnsons, the Cassius Howells, Manuel Pregnons, might not be there. So there we go. I think that's pretty much everything, and we don't have any other super chats, Robbie. So there we go. I think it's been good to catch up again and speak. It's been a while. So you've got the Sonics hat on today.
Man, it's happening. I mean, I'm feeling it. The vote is happening soon. So,
well, is it just before we let you go? Is there any kind of, because it does feel like a foregone conclusion, doesn't it?
I don't know. I hope so, but I've seen this before, so.
I mean, look, it's inevitable. I just think the NBA is not in a very good place right now, is it? Like, it's going to be good to have the Sonics back, because I know there's a lot of people like yourself that will want it, but
yeah.
Does it feel like a league that needs a kick up the arse?
Dude, I got to be honest. Once they left, I really haven't watched the NBA since.
Yeah.
I've been too pissed off. It hurt too much. I haven't I stick to college basketball now and don't even really watch it. So.
Well, Robbie, there's somebody else has sent a question about Jalen Kilgore. I'm going to address it. I'm going to let you go because I know you're tight for time. So appreciate you joining us, and let's catch up again soon. Hopefully, there's like a big thing, and we can get together and and we can talk about it.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Robbie's there. I'm just going to address this question about Jalen Kilgore before we finish. So this one here from DC. Quick thought on Jalen Kilgore, fit, round, etc. before you go. I really like Jalen Kilgore. I think that he is perfect for this team. I think that his body type and his mentality and his playing style fits very well. I think it's interesting that they're getting him in for an official 30 visit. And this is kind of what I'm talking about here. Like if some of these players are not available, who we're talking about, and if you have to take someone at 32, who are you hearing about? Who are you thinking about? Who are you going to take if you are forced to make a selection? And it could be that you say, we'll take Malachi Lawrence because of the traits and the production, and we'll try and work on some of the things that are not quite amazing yet. Or it might be that you say, we're going to take Jalen Kilgore because what we can do with him is we might be able to try him a bit at safety, and maybe he's sort of the Kobe Bryant type replacement there. He's been very productive playing in a safety role. He is somebody I think you can move around, and he's not going to be a single high safety at that size. Everyone appreciates that. But he is a 4'4" runner at like 210 pounds or whatever he is. He's got long arms. Part of me wonders if you think you could play him a bit outside at corner, play a bit out inside at safety. He's that chess piece. He's that positionless player that Mike McDonald seems to like. Part of me wonders whether or not you take him with the idea that you can use him in a lot of different ways. And like I say, his mentality, like his physical approach to the play is a perfect fit for the Seahawks. I think he's going to go earlier than Brandon Cisse because Brandon Cisse's teammate at South Carolina did not run as well as expected, didn't run at the combine. I think his stock has dropped to because the expectation with Cisse was he's going to be great. He's going to be a great runner. He's going to do everything really well at the combine. He didn't run. He's not run a great time since. I think his stock's fallen a bit. Kilgore running a lot faster than anybody expected. I think his stock is moving upwards now. I wonder if he's an option for them in the top 40, like someone at 32 or a small trade down, and you think about taking him if he ends up winning out in the battle of the draft room as to who you are going to take in that kind of area. I think he could be very much an option for them. And if I'm over-egging that and it's round 2, then fine. But I do think there's a pretty good chance that he could be high on their radar. And we have to think about this. I'm going to write about this right now. As soon as I finish this stream, we have to think about some of these alternative names. I might publish this tonight. I might publish it tomorrow. But we need to think about some of these alternative names that if certain players that everyone's talking about aren't there, and if they have to take somebody, who is it going to be? And Lawrence and Kilgore are 2 players that I think very much could be a part of that. I'll have a think about who else could be in it. I'm also interested to see what Jennings Dunker, if he does the bench press today at the Iowa Pro Day, whether he did it. I'd love to know so we can get a proper full TEF, Trent Explosion Formula score for him as well. That would be quite interesting too. So that's as far as we go. Big thank you to Robbie Williams. Big thank you to those who sent the super chats in. Big thank you to everybody who reads SeahawksDraftBlog.com and the Patreons. Do me a quick favor. Subscribe if you haven't already. Loads of videos coming between now and the draft, as you would expect. And as soon as there's any big news, we will jump on a stream at some point that day. I promise you. So make sure you subscribe. You will not miss anything. Like the video. It always helps. A lot have been watching live. Never get the same number of likes as we do for people watching live. So please like the video. Leave a comment in the comment section if you wouldn't mind. That is also massively appreciated. Make sure you check out SeahawksDraftBlog.com. It is a free blog. There are no commercials or adverts on the site. You do not have to subscribe. You don't have to put your email address in. It is completely free. All I ask is that you go and check it out. That's all I want from you. Make sure this labor of love is worth doing for me. I put a lot of time into it. I'd love for you to read the blog and make it worth my while. Is there anything else? The Seahawks Collective tomorrow. Make sure you tune in to that. It is 5 p.m. Seattle time, Pacific time. So join us for the Seahawks Collective tomorrow. That'll be streamed on YouTube as always. And just make sure you keep checking the blog and keep checking the channel because there's always something going on. And just make sure you remember this, that one of the things we've been talking about tonight is what the Seahawks are going to do with the 32nd overall pick. And I'm going to mention it. Why are the Seahawks picking 32nd overall? That is because they are the Super Bowl LX champions. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl and they get the 32nd pick for that. And all is well with the world and will be for the rest of this year because the Seahawks are the Super Bowl champions and we'll be picking 32nd overall in the 2026 NFL draft as a consequence. You enjoy the rest of your Monday. Until next time, bye for now.